Buonasera a tutti, good evening to everybody. My name is Corrado Paina. I'm the Executive Director of the Italian Chamber of Commerce of Ontario, Canada. Today is the fourth chapter of the fourth lessons on Friuli Venezia Giulia. Friuli Venezia Giulia is a symbol of culture and beauty, known for its simple, genuine, and delicious cuisine. Today, Friuli Venezia Giulia remains among Italy's few autonomous regions where local dialects and cuisine represent the deeply cultural identity of this region. I would like to introduce at this point one of the organizers. The four lessons are organized in a joint partnership with the Chamber of Commerce of Pordenone and Udine and the PromoTurismo Friuli Venezia Giulia. This evening with us, the President of the Chamber of Commerce of Udine and Pordenone, Giovanni Da Pozzo. Giovanni, please, go ahead.
Last webinar. My name is Giovanni Da Pozzo. I'm the President of Chamber of Commerce in Udine and Pordenone. I remember that the Chamber of Commerce Udine and Pordenone is the most important Chamber of Commerce in my region. A region with important political capital that is Trieste, economic capital is Udine. And today I want to speak about the history of my region. That is the history of many people that with the immigration at the beginning of the 19th century go to Friuli, to Canada, to Ontario, to USA. And now you can find, in particular in Toronto, many people that were born in Friuli, the parents, the grandparents, and more. I like to remember that Toronto is the second city in the world after Udine, where you can find a great number, about 60,000 people that speak Friulano. And for this, the connection between not only the economy, but so the social and the cultural relation between our region and Canada, and particularly, I repeat, the Ontario, is very, very, very strong. And in these four webinars, we have spoken about Friuli, we have spoken about the UNESCO sites, we have spoken about the excellence of the production in the food, in the wine, and in the other sector. Because this is very important. The roots of Canadian people are here, are in Friuli, and will be proud to have many friends to visit our region. I like to remember one, I think is the most important sweet in the world, that is Tiramisù. Is a recipe that I think that you know was born at half past centuries in my city, Tolmezzo, and now in every city, where you go in the world, you can find a tiramisu. Well, thank you so much. Thank you so much, my dear friend Corrado Paina. Thank you so much at the President of the Chamber of Commerce of Ontario. And I hope not only with the Chamber of Commerce, but so with the Promos Italia, I am the president in Milan of this important company that represent all the chamber of commerce in Italy to improve the relation with the friends, the Canadian friends. Thank you so much, and I hope to see you in Udine.
Thank you, Giovanni. Today, we will discover another extraordinary place of this region, the Palù di Livenza, and the mountain range of Dolomites, comprising 18 peaks, which all rise to above 3,000 meters. With us today, Chef Deborah Verginella, Executive Chef Millie Gallery Kaplan, who will guide us through the preparation of tiramisu, but not the regular one. Today, we will follow the Tolmezzo recipe, a local dessert, which was served to hungry hikers of the Dolomites. And Raffaella Zaccai, Promotion Office of PromoTurismo Friuli Venezia Giulia. Without further ado, I will leave the floor to Raffaella for a presentation of Palù di Livenza and the Dolomites. Welcome, Raffaella.
Buongiorno a tutti, and welcome to Friuli Venezia Giulia. Thank you very much, Mr. Paina. It's really a pleasure to be here to present again my territory and discovering every single time in every episode new hidden corners for you. Today, as you know, Friuli Venezia Giulia has a wide range of landscapes, a variety of landscapes, Alps, Dolomites, seaside, gentle hills, production of local tasty products like the white wines of the DOC area, like for instance Scoglio, or the prosciutto di San Daniele, authentic and Italian flair. I just would like to show you where is this Friuli Venezia Giulia. We are just here in the northern east part of Italy, close to the border with Austria and Slovenia, and very close to Venice. The variety of landscape offers you a wide range of activities that you can do for you and for your client, starting from sailing by the seaside, Lignano Sabbiadoro, or just hiking on the Dolomites in just, let's say, one day, because the distances are very short. As you can see from the physical map in here, Alps, gentle hills, lagoon, cliff, you will find all the Italian landscape for you. Art cities, UNESCO site, Adriatic Sea, Alps and Dolomites that we're going to discover tonight, biking, excellent local food, and the best white wine. So I invite you to see now the video dedicated to the roots of this biodiversity you will find in Friuli Venezia Giulia. Enjoy. So I guess you realize from the video that really the variety of landscape is one of the core when visiting the region Friuli Venezia Giulia. Italy off a beaten track offer a variety of everything, starting, for instance, for activities, can be cycling, going along, for instance, the Alpe Adria cycling path that also pass through Palmanova and Aquileia UNESCO site. So you can visit the region, discover real intercultural aspects, combining, of course, with the food and wine experiences. And I'm sure the nature catch your eyes during watching this video here dedicated to biodiversity. And tonight it's time to focus not on City of Arts, as we've done last time, but on the nature in Friuli Venezia Giulia. We present two UNESCO sites tonight. First one is Paludi di Venza. It's a unique site where the first human settlements were found. So stilt houses were founded here in Paludi di Venza. The name Palu stays for marshes, for palude, we say in Italian, but the focus will be the Dolomites, majesty of Dolomites, pristine nature, this pure environment, fresh air, and lots of activities to be done in summertime, in spring, and of course in winter. You can start in summer hiking over these peaks, and in winter, for instance, doing the snowshoeing with the full moon. So it's an experience you cannot miss. But now I will enjoy with you a video dedicated to discover Paludi di Venza, the Dolomites, and later on I'll give the stage to Tiziana, our official tourist guide and natural guide in Friuli Venezia Giulia, that will tell something more. Enjoy!
Ogni giorno è un giorno diverso. Penso possa valere per tutti, ma quando si è in viaggio bisogna essere preparati al fatto che lo sia davvero. Imprevisti, incontri inaspettati, pianificazioni e ostacoli, come se la tua giornata fosse in perenne costruzione. Cerchiamo di orientarci, di improvvisare, di trovare soluzioni ai problemi con le nostre forze, omaggiando le sconfitte per poi gioire dei piccoli successi. Esploriamo la realtà come delle bambine in una caccia al tesoro. Annusiamo l'aria per capire dove troveremo qualcosa di valore. Capita poi che qualche saggio ti indichi la direzione, ti faccia vedere qualcosa di nascosto sotto gli strati del tempo, perché tu possa tornare a casa con un segreto da custodire. Per me la felicità è dare un senso alle nostre giornate. Accoglierle come fossimo dei vasi, perché è quello che portiamo dentro a renderci preziosi. Ora questi luoghi ci risuonano dentro e noi nella notte impariamo a danzare. Quando siamo partite non sapevamo ancora quale fosse il nostro obiettivo. Volevamo toglierci di dosso l'abitudine di dire lo faremo domani, di procrastinare la sveglia, di guardare gli altri altrove e noi ancora nello stesso posto. Non volevamo più guardarci allo specchio e pensare ancora tu. Abbiamo abbracciato quel desiderio di conoscere un'alternativa alle solite noi stesse. Ci siamo lasciate trasportare dall'audacia, da una sete che non poteva più essere ignorata. Siamo corse in preda alla gioia di vivere e inciampare, rialzarci ed essere più simili a quello che volevamo diventare. Connetterci a qualcosa che ci sembrasse più reale, che ci togliesse il fiato attraverso uno spavento o una risata. Ci siamo guardate dall'alto, diverse, ognuna con i propri pensieri, ma accomunate da una partenza e una destinazione. Siamo arrivate più lontano di quanto da sole potessimo immaginare. Durante questo percorso abbiamo capito che conoscere è un viaggio di sola andata, ricco di altri luoghi ancora da scoprire.
Hello everyone and welcome. My name is Tiziana and I'm a tour guide and a nature guide in this wonderful region, Friuli Venezia Giulia. Today we are immersed in the beautiful nature of the Dolomites. Now I'm gonna show you some pictures and tell you something interesting about this wonderful landscape and territory. The Dolomites are considered some of the most beautiful landscape anywhere, with vertical walls, cliffs and narrow, deep, long valleys. They are widely regarded as being among the most attractive mountain landscapes in the world, thanks to their monumental and colorful landscape. The Dolomites are a spectacular place of international importance for geology, as the classic site for the development of mountains in Dolomitic limestone. The Friulian Dolomites, Dolomiti Friulane, are the most western mountains of our region, Friuli Venezia Giulia. With their high degree of wilderness, they are considered the most untouched area of the entire Dolomites Massif. In the natural park of the Friulian Dolomites, Parco Naturale Dolomiti Friulane, you can meet a lot of wild animals, such as the majestic golden eagle, symbol of the park, alpine ibexes, marmots, or herds of deer, chamois, and roe deer. Regarding the richness of floral heritage, there is the presence of many rare and protected species. For example, the endemic intense blue Gentiana frelichi that lives only in the Friulian Dolomites, or the beautiful violet blue Campanula morettiana. Our Dolomites are a paradise for fans of Nordic walking, hiking, climbing, but also for people that love nature and relax. In winter, there are many possibilities for skiers and ice climbers, or you can simply enjoy in the villages and in the natural park the atmosphere of a fairy tale. The skyline of our Dolomites makes you think of a series of churches with their bell towers. An example and a symbol for the Friulian Dolomites is the pinnacle called Campanile di Val Montanaia that you can see in the picture. Not only nature, but also history and tradition. You can visit some typical mountain villages, among the most beautiful in Italy. For example, you can visit Forni di Sopra, that is considered the pearl of the Friulian Dolomites, and Sappada, where people speak an ancient German dialect and celebrate a famous carnival respecting old traditions. You can admire also the traditional architecture of the Dolomites, with the local houses built in wood that are characterized in summer from beautiful balconies full of flowers. Myths and legends were born in this monumental region. Here live, for example, the Aganis, water fairies. You can meet them where there is water or in the caves, and they are part of this world rich in tradition and history connected with nature. Around 30 minutes by car from the Dolomites, you can visit an important archaeological prehistoric site. In the wetland downstream of the Livenza River, there is the ancient pile-dwelling site of Palù di Livenza. This settlement site was inhabited since the Neolithic, and it is considered one of the most ancient pile-dwelling sites in northern Italy. Today, it is a beautiful wetland zone, an important area of special natural interest for its biodiversity and as a bird habitat. Thank you so much for your attention and see you soon in Friuli Venezia Giulia.
Thank you very much, Tiziana. I guess our people enjoyed, all this view about Friuli Venezia Giulia and all this beauty that comes from this pure and pristine nature. I would like to thank you and see you arrivederci in Friuli Venezia Giulia. If you have a question, there will be Q&A at the end. But now is the moment to give the stage to our favorite chef, Deborah Verginella, that now will teach us how to prepare tiramisù. Buonasera, Deborah. Ciao.
Buonasera. Ciao, Raffaella. I'm really excited to be here again for the third crowning night with the dessert. And I think it's a testament to how incredible this dessert is, tiramisu, that everyone has been fighting over who created it. So
Absolutely.
I'm going to start. I'm really proud that it's Friulano. My mother actually is an expert tiramisu maker. I know everyone says that about their mom, but I'm going to start the recipe just because I have a little bit of noise going on, and then we can chat more. And as you said, the chat window is open. So if anyone has any questions or comments or memories, they can go ahead. So the most important thing, as we keep talking about these incredible dishes that we've been highlighting over the last 3 evenings, is how important, of course, the base ingredients, the raw ingredients are. And, tiramisu, yes, you can find it everywhere. You can find it packaged, you can find it frozen. But really, the key is having an amazing and excellent quality of mascarpone. And mascarpone is a cream cheese, not to be mistaken with cream cheese as we know it, but it is made from cream and not milk. And it's just slightly coagulated with the addition of some kind of acidity like lemon juice or vinegar. So when you actually taste a really fresh, good mascarpone, it does have a slight tang, not a sweetness. So that's really important. Of course, I shopped at Italy, and so all of these incredible DOP ingredients are available there. The other very, very important thing, I think in general, every time that you are going to eat an egg, but especially people who may be a little bit uncertain about eating raw eggs, the key is to buy fresh and organic or free-run eggs. So the fresher, the better, and they're incredibly healthy. In fact, my grandmother in Monfalcone, when I was a kid, there used to be chickens in the city, the way people are reviving that now. And we actually used to drink a raw egg in the morning. So let's start with the recipe, knowing that these are really, really important aspects of it. I also bought another great Friulan brand, which is Illy Cafe. And so I've made the espresso with that. So let's start by, I'm going to actually whip the egg whites first, just because then I don't have to change the actual bowl. So what we're going to do is separate 4 egg whites from the yolks. So let's do that. And again, when you have an incredible egg, you will see how yellow this tiramisu actually becomes. And you can actually see this beautiful orange yolk that is from this great egg. So let's get those egg whites whipped. And I'm doubling the recipe just because I'm making a larger one. I think it's crazy to make a small one because this is meant to be shared. So we're making a larger quantity. So there we have our 4 egg whites, which I'm going to whip first. So bear with me while this goes on. It won't take long. And I don't know if you can hear me, but I'm going to try. We're going to add 2 whole eggs to this. Almost. Thanks for bearing with me. That does not take long at all. What you want are nice, of course, stiff peaks. And this is a great one bowl way of doing this. We're going to just pop that into the bowl, these whipped egg whites. And even if a little bit remains, it doesn't matter. We're going to use the same bowl. We'll set those aside. And now, in case I was trying to kind of talk over that, but I did add 2 whole eggs to the 4 egg yolks that were separated. So we are going to add those into our bowl. And again, you're going to just bear with me for another minute. And we're going to add about 100 grams of white sugar to that. Now, this part is also very important because you want this to double in volume, or not quite double, but you want it to be very creamy and smooth. I would let it go a little bit longer, but we are going to just take that out now. And again, I just want to call your attention to how orangey and yellow that is. It's such a deep, beautiful color. Again, the quality of the eggs. So now this part is where we add our mascarpone. I'm adding 500 grams. It's such a very simple dessert, and there are variations that I have found, but I find the simplicity of this is all you need. I don't add, I stick to the traditional recipe. I play around with the form maybe a little bit, but the original recipe is everything you need. It's balanced, it has sweetness, it has creaminess and texture. So of course, everyone can do what they wish, but I love the original tiramisu just as it is. And so here we're just going to fold that in with a whisk, and you can see that color. And just until that mascarpone is incorporated. And again, another great little point is to keep everything at room temperature. I know in North America, we love to keep things in the refrigerator, but take your eggs out. Anytime you're using eggs, take them out so that they're room temperature before you start to use them, as with the mascarpone. Otherwise, this part becomes a little bit tiresome and tedious. So now we're going to just fold in our egg whites. Just being careful not to destroy too much of that volume. And really, you're just going from the bottom over to the top until we have incorporated those egg whites. So it's, again, the original recipe from Tolmezzo, as we heard, and where we saw where it is from. And the history of it is really, really interesting, because even I had heard differing stories over the years about the origins of tiramisu, which of course, we haven't said the obvious, but it means pick me up. Tiramisu, pick me up. And so even I was, sort of happy to hear that it has actually been established that Tolmezzo is in fact the birthplace of such an incredible dessert. There we have it all incorporated. And again, you can traditionally make it in a square pan. It actually makes it easy for these, but I thought, let's just make it round. I have one ready to do. And it's basically 2 layers. So we have strong espresso coffee with a little bit of sugar in it. We have savoiardi, which are ladyfinger cookies. And again, this is also a pretty important step. You want to soak the ladyfingers, the savoiardi, but you don't want them to, get mushy from the coffee. So you quickly, they're very porous, so you're really just dipping them on both sides, and they're absorbed, but they're still intact. And so we're just going to create one layer of these. Of course, a square pan, you can actually fit these perfectly. This, we're going to have to do a little bit of jigsaw puzzling, but it's a nice alternate shape for a special occasion. And a few more. I'm just going to cover the bottom. So in the 50s, in Tolmezzo, there was a hotel called Roma Hotel, and the Fabbro family owned it, and the mother, whose name was Norma Pielli, was creating a recipe one day, a recipe that was called Torino, and it was a recipe from Artusi. And the recipe was originally calling for butter, liqueur, and chocolate with the biscuits. Let's just add a little layer of this beautiful mascarpone crema, this cream, about half of it. And I'm keeping you hanging with the story. We'll get a nice spatula and we'll just smooth it over. And that's what it looks like so far. And then we're going to do another layer of savoiardi. So Norma Pielli decided to play around and experiment. And what she did was she substituted the butter for the mascarpone. She substituted the liqueur for coffee and the chocolate for cocoa. And at the time, it was just called mascarpone slice, fetta di mascarpone. Until in 1953, some tourists from Triassic came in and tasted it. And being Triestini, with their sense of humor, they called it tiramisù. They probably called it tiramisù. So here I'm going to add a little bit more espresso that's been cooled. And we'll finish adding this layer. And then in 2017, it was actually inducted or registered in the traditional foods of Friuli Venezia Giulia. So the next time people try to argue with you and tell you that it's from wherever, it's not. It's actually from Tolmezzo. So here's our last layer of mascarpone cream. And the color is just beautiful. And again, we'll take our spatula and just smooth it. You see how easy it is to assemble. And the crucial part here is just letting it chill in a refrigerator, a minimum of 4 hours, preferably overnight if you can, and we'll set it. I have one here ready. And we'll transfer this. So let's take this out. Never experiment on live, but I do all the time. So You can be witness to whether it works out or not. Here we go. And it did. I just thought I would make it a little bit fancier in presentation, but it's exactly the same, ingredients and quantities done in a just slightly different style. And of course, the last thing is once that it has set and it's chilled, we're going to sprinkle some cocoa, pure cocoa powder over it. And there we have tiramisu from Tolmezzo. And let's just cut into that and show you what it looks like inside. I wish you could be here to share it with me. It is one of the absolute favorite desserts of my family. And there we have tiramisu from Tolmezzo. A nice glass of picolit, and you're all set. We just need to be in Friuli now. We need to be in Tolmezzo. So that is the question. If you have any questions, remember, we have our chat open. And if you have any comments for either me or Raffaella about the tourism, about the recipe, anything at all, please go ahead. Feel free to chat with us. We love your comments and questions. Raffaella, I wish you were here to
so tasty
share this with me.
I want to be there with a little spoon and taste it immediately. It's so brilliant. So
you have a question.
Yeah, I do have a couple of questions about Dolomites, touristic purposes and sporting events. Yes, I do. I mean, we saw images for winter and summer. All the activity can be done all year long, basically. So you can do the classical hiking in summertime, autumn with this fantastic foliage. There are activities for families and for more expert hikers. So it's a destination starting from Sappada or Forni di Sopra that can offer you a wide range of possibility. We saw, for instance, in Sappada. Sappada belongs to the Borghi più belli d'Italia, the most beautiful small towns in Italy, because of the traditional historical local houses, wooden houses. So you will see the history of this place. For instance, are depicted the ancient, jobs of the territory. So it goes back to the past activity of the people living in town. So it's very fascinating making a stroll in winter or in summer just to discover the history of these places and tasting the local specialities. And after that, or also after a slice of tiramisu, you can hike up to the peaks. One of the symbols, as you saw, is the pinnacle of Valmontanaia, Campanile di Valmontanaia, that is for a bit more expert hikers, the one that you use for the opening picture for the event tonight, that is very scenographic. Or, for instance, in wintertime, one of the, let's say, more challenging experiences, the ice climbing, or some waterfalls just outside Sappada, for instance, where you can climb. Or for those of you keen on Olympic, I mean, we would say that Sappada is the hometown of the Olympics. Why? Because some people that were training in Sappada, that actually living in Sappada during the Olympics held in Lillehammer in 1994, won in the Nordic countries the cross-country relay team. They won the gold medal. And now there is the possibility to do, let's say, cross-country ski with one of these champions, this is Silvio Fauner, that, for instance, allowed you to do cross-country skiing and giving you all the secrets and the hidden, let's say, tricks for being a cross-country skier. And there are lots of slope in the sun, very good for kids when they want to learn to ski. So I guess there are destinations really suitable all year long. For instance, now it's becoming very popular here as well, the e-bike. So you can feel a champion, whatever. You can cycling along, for instance, Forni di Sopra and discovering all the valleys outside and get the most of your holiday in the pure nature. This is pretty, unique, plenty of fresh air, lots of space. So I think what you need to get the balance with the nature surrounding you. There are some for Deborah.
Yes, so the recommended coffee to use, Well, any strong espresso is, the brand really, I mean, if you want to keep it, again, regional, then Ili is a great choice. It's a coffee I drink. And this one is especially good. I've never tried it, but it's intenso, and it's really, really amazing. But any strong brewed espresso, whether it's mocha or machine, I actually have my Mila coffee system behind and used that with the Ili Cafe. And then the other question is it okay to use Demerara sugar? Not really. It's going to really change the flavor profile completely and overpower the mascarpone. The other thing is that Demerara sugar is much more coarse, and it will be much more difficult to blend in with the eggs. So, of course, if that's the only thing that you have and you really want to make it, of course, but try to stick with white sugar for this recipe. As you saw, it's only about 100 grams, very little compared to the other ingredients, but I think really makes sure that you're tasting the mascarpone and not the sugar.
Yeah. Have another question here. Are the Dolomites an affordable tourist destination? Are they worth visiting on their own if you go to Italy? Well, absolutely. I mean, the area of our Friuli Dolomites are affordable destination for all kind of clients, starting from families that are looking maybe for more relaxed atmosphere, to those keen on adrenaline experience, like those doing, for instance, hiking on the ice fountains. I mean, another experience I would suggest in winter is snowshoeing, for instance, with a full moon. That as an experience done before COVID was really stunning, because the colors of the Dolomites are fantastic at the sunset, because the color became something unique. You have to see with your own eyes. It's kind of pink, really very, very charming. But also doing that, having that palette of colors with the full moon, it's really wonderful. I guess it's an experience you cannot miss in here. And what are other mountains ranges that closer resemble the Dolomites? I would say Dolomites or Dolomites. I mean, even like we heard from Tiziana, the area here is very, the Friuli Dolomites, that is the last part of Dolomites, is still very pristine, a high level of wilderness, so you won't find tons of people queuing for hiking, but you have a really touch and contact with the local nature. There is the natural park of the Dolomiti Friulane. You can have lovely walks, by these little rivers, and feel, the contact of the nature outside the mass. Because I think if you go to the mountains, you go to Dolomites, you want to be surrounded by environment and feeling the energy that the nature can give to you. And these are the places with this authentic atmosphere you will find. Visiting also little local shop, little trattoria, tasting frico, tasting tiramisù, so you get the full of energy, and then you can hike for more hours, or just get rid of the e-bike and ride your mountain bike. There are definitely an experience you cannot miss. I would say, I don't know if they can resemble to something else, but Dolomites or Dolomites, definitely worth a visit, absolutely.
And so there's a question for me. The question is, would adding a sherry like marsala to the coffee to dip the savoiardi take away from the original recipe? I have seen the addition of liqueur. And again, I'm someone that experiments all the time with original recipes. I like presenting an original recipe like this, especially when we're highlighting the incredible quality of something like the mascarpone. And so when you taste the original recipe, what you're tasting is the mascarpone, right? The cream. So of course, add, marsala to the coffee, and it will change it a little bit, but it will still be great. And again, the wine pairing, often with desserts, we will pair with a dessert wine. And let's stay within Friuli Venezia Giulia and pair it with a nice chilled glass of picolit, which actually is, a grape variety that is, was, often grown on poor and infertile soil. And so the stalk was very, very small. And so they called it picolit. It is made in the manner of passito. So it is a very sweet, delicious wine. Think ice wine here in Canada, and then you'll have a kind of idea of the pairing of this wine. And the last question is, can I make a tiramisu without biscuits? Yes, I mean, there's if I were to change the base and the middle layer from Savoiardi. We talked earlier about maybe making it with pavezzini, which are slightly, they're, I guess, like cat's tongue cookies, if the French cat's tongue, or a genoise, like a beautiful thinner sponge. You could do 2 layers of that as well. Absolutely. I mean, I have actually made it with a layer of, in the center, melted, couverture chocolate, where you just have this thin layer that actually adds a nice little chocolatey crunch. It's not traditional, but this is obviously a dessert that's open to many, many variations. But again, I would just, again, emphasize, use really good mascarpone. That's the key.
Yeah. So some other question here. What are the means of transport if you don't have a car? And why are the Dolomites considered a World Heritage Site? Can I sleep in the Dolomites? Well, yes, about the mean of transport, there are local buses that can, for instance, can connect Trieste up to the Dolomites, to Sappada, and as well to Forni di Sopra. So you can easily find local buses driving you there. World Heritage Site, because they are definitely worth a visit for the particularity of the color of the rocks over there. I mean, and all the history behind the formation of these mountains in here. And can I sleep in the Dolomites? Yes, you do, both in Friuli Venezia Giulia, in Forni di Sopra, and in Sappada, that are the 2 little towns close, of course, to the Dolomites. I would suggest here to choose one of these old houses refurbished with the old, traditional, furniture, in order to have the vibe of being part of that place. For instance, like in Albergo Diffuso, this kind of accommodation, very unique to feel part of the community. The houses are so well decorated outside and inside. If you go there in summer, there is this flower blooming all over the balconies that is really charming, looks like a fairy tale. It looks like you are in a postcard. And just walking around, the palette of the colors, all the green of the valley, and with this hint of colors all over, really get your eyes really full of beauty. You won't never forget your holidays over there, definitely.
I never forgot my holidays there. My cousins who lived in the Dolomites, I remember being a kid and opening the window and sleeping in the summer under a big piumone.
A duvet,
a duvet, and it was like incredible. And the flower boxes outside the window that opened up into the mountains. You're right. It is like a fairy tale.
Yes, just that full light blue and all the colors over there. It's like wow factor daily, even if you live there, I guess. Yes. You will never give that for granted. Can be so fascinating. Winter snow. This winter we had lots of snow over there in the Dolomites, but it's summer is the valleys, so full of sun, really
and
nice.
Full of wildflowers everywhere. So beautiful. Yeah. I have another question here. Can you substitute for the mascarpone if you have none available? What about using a drier ricotta, Greek yogurt, heavy cream, or whipping cream, Philadelphia cream cheese, or some combination? Do you put the Savoiardi cookies with the sugar side down? And is it easy to make? Can it be made well on a first try? So a lot of information. Yes, you can actually use, let's say you wanted to use Philadelphia cream cheese or Western creamery, maybe another kind of cream cheese. And I have seen recipes where they actually have the addition of whipping cream that's whipped and combined with that. So yeah, absolutely. Again, variations. Go for all the variations you can. This is a very basic idea of a trifle, right? Like the whole idea is that it's a trifle. It's layered with, some kind of cakey sponge and then filled with other things. And so the Savoiardi, actually I used them all up, but they are both kind of sugary on all sides. So it doesn't really matter which side you use, but I do, as you see, dip them on both sides very quickly. Don't immerse them, because then they'll fall apart. And then you see how the tiramisu here is actually, there's no liquid running down. And I think that is a very, very important aspect of it. So you have very moistened Savoiardi without them letting go of excess coffee, which will actually destroy the texture of the crema of the mascarpone. So yeah, absolutely. I have never made it with ricotta, but interestingly enough, mascarpone actually comes from the dialect, the Lombard dialect for ricotta. So there probably is a way to use not a drier ricotta, but maybe a very creamy, you know how they have different grades of ricotta, a really, really creamy ricotta, a fine ricotta, and adding the sugar and perhaps maybe a little whipping cream just to hold it all together. Greek yogurt, you know, I would maybe do something like labne, which is a Middle Eastern yogurt cream, as opposed to the yogurt. I think there's going to be too much water in that. And then, is it easy to make? I think you can see it's easy to make. There's no baking, there's no cooking. There's really, all you need is a stand mixer or a good whisk. And again, it's just a few little tricks, some coffee, and that's it. It really can be made well on your first try. I hope that this was instructive and that you feel confident that you can go ahead and make it. And honestly, the one thing I would say is you don't have to, you know, unform it like this. Make it in a square pan or a casserole, and then you scoop it out, and then you will have no issues at all. That's the traditional way to make it. So yeah, you will. You'll make a great one.
It won't last more than an hour after
No,
out
it
from the
doesn't in our
fridge.
house.
I can bet. Absolutely. I have another question here. Where do you recommend staying if you wish to make one town your base and then venture out to the Dolomites? Well, Tolmezzo could be also a nice option, or just start in our central part of the Alps and then taking, let's say, the road on the west area. You will reach Dolomites, let's say, in 1 hour more or less. I would suggest to stay in one of those, like, for instance, Sappada or Forni di Sopra, where you're just at the base of the Dolomites and there are starting point for your hiking parts. So it can be a really nice option. Temperature in the winter in the Dolomites, well, goes minus, but not that freezing like maybe you can have in Toronto. So this winter we had snow, was not that cold. So not minus 20, can be minus 5, 6, minus 10. It depends, but it doesn't, I mean, goes very, 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 very cold. So it's doable, let's say.
So yeah, there's another question for me. The different ways tiramisu is served. Is it usually served by itself or with espresso on the side? And what occasion is tiramisu best suited for? Well, I mean, really, it's actually not even a celebratory cake, the way some desserts could be associated with holidays. In our family, it is always one of our birthday cakes because it's the dessert that we all adore the most out of all of them. But definitely, it can lend itself to an afternoon coffee with friends or the end of a celebratory meal. So really, there are no rules with it. But sure, you know, we talked about the picolit or some kind of dessert wine like ice wine here, but a good strong espresso, but even, you know, a tea, if you wanted to do a high afternoon tea, this could definitely be part of it. So really, it's a very humble but good cake and very, very simple and straightforward. So make it your own and make your own traditions with it like we have for our birthdays.
Yeah. I have some other question here about Palu di Livenza. So the still houses by the marshes. Can I rent a boat or canoe to visit the site of Palu di Livenza? How deep is the water? Which kind of restaurant can I find there? And is it possible to visit a stilt house in Palu? Well, for the request about the boat or canoe, you won't find the possibility of doing this. You will find some trails, archaeological and naturalistic, easy walk to relax and enjoy the protected area. It's a protected area, so you're not allowed to go inside. If you want to discover the waters of the river Livenza, that is the place where this spa you will find, you can visit the town of Sacile, that is about 15 minutes driving from Palu, and you can do the canoe experiences in town. Really nice because there are this little river inside town, and you can rent that and doing that among this charming city of Sacile, not that far, just 15 minutes driving. The water is not that deep because Palu comes from the Italian word palude, that is marsh. So the level depends on the rain on that days. About the restaurants over there, you can find cozy hamlets over there, like little towns like Polcenico or Caneva. Polcenico belongs like Sappada to the Borghi più belli d'Italia, and you can find tiny houses in an environment nearby the Livenza River, very charming, and in a place rich in water. So really, a unique experience over there. Is it possible to visit a stilt house in Palu? Well, I would say not yet, because they didn't reconstruct yet the structure that were supposed to be the stilt houses over there. But to understand what was there and all the discovering that the archaeological made, you can visit the museum not that far from the site of Palu, Museo Archeologico del Friuli Occidentale in Pordenone, that host all, the things that were found by the archaeologists. So, for instance, little spoon and little part of the first settlement or the people of the Neolithical that were stays over there. Recently, in 2020, there were found this wooden spoon that was preserved since those times. So it was really an extraordinary finding. There were some ceramic bowls, some little fragments of pottery. This preserved spoon made by wood, it's something like wow factor, absolutely. I mean, from the Neolithic until 2020, still preserved. It's really, wow, the history. Yeah, thank you.
Well, Raffaella, I'm going to miss our evenings together.
Yeah,
and,
me too.
It's been really great for me, and I want to thank, of course, the Friuli Venezia Giulia, Raffaella, and ICCO for having me as a guest chef. I've had so much fun meeting you and preparing these dishes from my family's region. Thank you.
Thank you, Deborah. Thank you all the people that were listening and this 4 episode dedicated to discover Friuli Venezia Giulia. And I really hope to welcome you here as I work to the tourist board. I work into the B2B promotion department. And for you, travel agent and tour operator, I'm the person in charge for Canadian markets. So for anything you may need, then just feel free to contact me. I'm really happy to help. Thank you very much and have a lovely evening. Ciao.
Thank you. Good night.
Thank you, Raffaella. Thank you, Deborah. Thank you, Giovanni. Thank to all of you for this last chapter of the 4 episodes, let's call them like that, on Friuli Venezia Giulia. Thank you again for such an interesting presentation about Palu di Livenza and the Dolomites, for guiding us through the flavor behind the recipe. I take this opportunity to remind that the ingredients are available at Italy Toronto. Visit the Italy shop online through the link you find in the chat. Registrants for this series will also receive an online discount code following the final class to shop 10% off Italy's online marketplace. And last but not least, if you're planning to book a tour to the region of Friuli Venezia Giulia, please contact Victor's International to find out more about travel destination in Friuli Venezia Giulia. After 60 years, Eco Canada is always committed to promoting their members. Speaking about membership, I strongly encourage you to consider becoming an Eco Canada member, to stay in touch with us, to be part of a network, to continue to promote business and culture between Canada and Italy. Eco Canada remains available for further information and details. Thank you very much for joining us tonight and in the last episodes. And I look forward to see you again to another great event of Eco Canada. Do not forget to attend the next event, Buonissimo, on May the 18th at 6 p.m. Finally, allow me to thank all the people that have made these 4 chapters available to you. Richard Bressan, the organizer, Ilaria Venoso, the director, Mary Chirico, manager of the events and communication department, and all the rest of the office. Behind all the events of the chamber, there's always this team, strong team of belligerent and at the same time, I would say, and please don't think that I'm arrogant, skilled people. Thank you very much, and please stay tuned, because we're going to have another event soon, very likely in few days. Thank you again. Ciao.